Good morning. Yeah, it's a cold morning out here again. I'm out here working on the Scout. I'm waiting on a radiator and some carburetor parts so we can get it running a little bit better and get some cooling system going on. But while I'm at it, I'm working on the wiring. The wiring was just, the rats had completely eat the wiring up in this thing. And I'm just hooking up a simple wiring system here just for the ignition and the starter. And I thought this would be I drew me up a little pattern here, what I was going to do, and little plan. And I thought this is pretty good. I could show this, a little simple wiring thing. I'm going to get a close up here later on and show it to you. But this is just a simple thing to get it started. This thing hasn't run in a long time. We might have problems with it, but it doesn't take long to rig up a simple system here that's going to be trouble free. You're going to have enough trouble messing with the timing and tuning on the carburetor and looking for leaks and stuff like that. You don't need to, have jumper wires running all over the place like I did in an earlier video. That's just a bunch of bull. So, that'll get you started, see if it'll hit or whatever. But, when you start closing in on something, you want to do something a little bit better. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Okay, I'm going to try to put this as simply as I can. You got your battery here. Of course, you run this over to your ground on your frame and your block of your engine and the body. Get your grounds, very important. Okay, then we got the big battery wire, your big heavy wire. It goes down here to the big heavy terminal on your starter. Okay, of course the wind's going to start blowing. I'm trying to do this. Another wire you run here to your ignition switch goes over. It'll go to the battery side of your ignition switch. There's where you get your power. Now, from there, your ignition, it'll say on the switch, ignition, it goes over here to one side of your ballast resistor. This cuts down, 13 or 12 volts to 6 or 8. And, because that keeps from burning your points up in your distributor. More on that later. Now, there's a start side of your ignition switch. That's going to go over here. You do right up here to the start side of your starter. Now, this is on a Delco style starter that's got the solenoid made onto the starter. And there's another wire on there. There's always 2 wires or 3 wires that go to it on most of them. And this one's run. Well, what's that one for? I'll show you. That will go over to the other side of your resistor. And here's how that works. When you turn the ignition switch on, when you turn on just the on position, the ignition will come on. That powers this for your, for running. But when you start it, when you hit this start, it goes over here, goes into this, and it puts 12 volts out while it's cranking over to this side of it. So you get a full 12 volts going to your coil, and to the points to help it start. So you get a good, powerful, nice spark out of it. Okay, so that's how that works. And it's on this side, so it doesn't go through the resistor. It goes to this side, straight over to the positive side of the coil. See how that works? Now, when you let off of the start position, when you quit cranking it, it turns this off. The run part, it just turns that off. That goes back to nothing. And then you're running, it goes back to the ignition. It's running off this through the resistor into the coil. So that's basically it. That's how you can wire a resistor in here. That's for a coil that's made for an external resistor. And that's usually what I use, and that's what I've got on this Scout right here right now. But hopefully that'll help you guys wire one up. Again, over here, big wire. Starter goes to the start side of the ignition switch. Ignition goes to the ignition through the resistor this way. This wire off of the starter goes over here to this side of the resistor and powers a full 12 volts to this while cranking. And then just this wire goes over to the distributor, to the points, if you got one of these old systems like this. And that'll get you a good basic system. Make good connections when you do this. Don't temporary, just do the best you can. It doesn't take that much longer. And that'll give you trouble-free while you're troubleshooting. That'll get your wiring all straightened out. And that's what I got on this. We'll take a little bit closer look at this here in a minute, but hopefully that helps you out. And this is a little update on the Scout. I cleaned it up a little bit. More half-assery here. Painted the motor and under the hood. So here's some of this wiring that we done. I had to put a new solenoid on here. I'm gonna relocate the battery to this area right here. But here's this wiring. Here's my ballast resistor. and all that stuff going to the coil. I've got this wire here. I'm waiting on an electric fuel pump I'm going to put on it. I put a, I don't know if you can see this or not, but I took the old mechanical fuel pump off of it, just put a block off plate on there. I'm not going to use that. Oh, something else. Look at this. Put me a little gauge trio in there. That's all hooked up. I got the speedometer hooked up. There's a aftermarket ignition switch. Got the original light switch hooked up on it, and that's what we've been working on. So that's a little update. A little 2-inch tack's gonna go right here. I'm waiting for that to come in just to fill in the hole. I didn't need a tack, but I said, what am I gonna do with this extra hole? There was a fuel gauge. Not gonna be needing that. Yeah. So that's an update and some wiring tips. Reckon that's what you'd want to know about. How to wire up ignition on these old Scouts. Some people call them a binder, I call them a Scout. I can go into more detail if you need me to. Just let me know down there in the comments below.